She walks alone but never feels lonely. You see? There is something profoundly powerful about a woman who doesn't need to be understood by the crowd to know her worth. She moves through life quietly with a sense of peace that can only come from someone who has found her own rhythm. The rarest women in the world are not loud, not desperate for validation, not chasing eyes that were never meant to see them. They walk as though they already belong to something greater, something unshakable, themselves. She has learned that solitude is not a punishment, but a sanctuary. When she's alone, she listens to her own thoughts, her own emotions, and she doesn't run away from them. Most people avoid silence because they fear what it reveals, but she embraces it. She knows that in those moments of stillness, her spirit speaks the loudest. She has discovered that peace doesn't come from being surrounded by others. It comes from being connected to her own soul. That's why she walks alone, not because she must, but because she chooses to. This woman doesn't measure her worth by how many people like her follow her or praise her. She measures it by her ability to remain authentic in a world that constantly asks her to be something else. Her confidence isn't loud or boastful. It's calm, almost quiet, like the ocean before dawn. You can feel it in her presence. She doesn't need to prove anything because she has nothing to prove. She has outgrown the need for validation. When people misunderstand her, she doesn't shrink. She smiles because she knows they see only from their level of awareness. She isn't against the world. She simply refuses to lose herself in it. She wears her individuality like armor. Not because she's hardened, but because she's learned that softness needs protection. She is kind, but not now. Loving, but not foolish. Her independence doesn't mean she's cold. It means she's warm enough within herself that she doesn't need to seek warmth from others. That's what makes her so rare. She belongs to herself. When others look for direction, she trusts her intuition. She knows that answers don't always come from noise or logic. Sometimes they come from silence, from listening to that quiet voice within that says, "This is your path." She follows it even when no one else understands, even when it's lonely. Because she knows that loneliness and solitude are not the same. Loneliness is what you feel when you've lost connection with yourself. Solitude is what you feel when you finally found it. And in that solitude, she grows. She becomes stronger, clearer, more whole. She stops chasing what's not meant for her. She doesn't beg. She doesn't force. She doesn't cling. She lets things flow, and that's where her true power lies, in her ability to let go without losing herself. The rarest woman knows that what is meant for her will never need to be begged for. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't demand, she embodies. Her energy speaks louder than words ever could. People are drawn to her not because she tries to be seen, but because she's comfortable being unseen. There's a mystery about her, something unexplainable yet magnetic. It's her calmness, her quiet confidence, her sense of peace in a world constantly at war with itself. While everyone else is busy trying to stand out, she stands still. And somehow that stillness makes her unforgettable. She's not easily impressed, not easily swayed. Her strength isn't about being unbreakable. It's about knowing how to rebuild herself every time life tests her. She doesn't hide her scars. She wears them as reminders of how far she's come. Her journey isn't perfect, but it's honest. And honesty in a world of masks is what makes her luminous. There will be moments when people won't understand her calm, her silence, or her distance. They'll call it arrogance. They'll mistake her peace for indifference. But she knows what they don't. That peace is sacred, and she's not willing to trade it for noise. She knows that not everyone can walk with her, and that's okay. Her path isn't meant to be crowded. The rarest paths never are. Sometimes she looks around and sees others chasing love, attention, or belonging. And she feels a deep compassion because she knows what it's like to crave validation, to feel unseen, to long for connection. But she also knows that once you discover the beauty of standing alone, truly alone, you stop begging for scraps of love from those who cannot see your worth. You start feeding your own soul instead. She understands that being alone doesn't mean being unloved. It means being free. Free to think, to dream, to evolve without needing permission. Free to be everything she was meant to be without apology. And that freedom, that peace, that quiet power, it makes her the rarest woman in the world. She chooses depth over attention. In a time where being seen has become more important than real, the rarest woman does something extraordinary. She turns inward. While the world is busy performing, she is simply being. She doesn't crave the spotlight because she understands that light without depth is just glare. What she seeks is not applause, but alignment. Not validation, but connection. Her value doesn't come from how much the world notices her, but from how deeply she understands herself. She has tasted the emptiness that comes from surface-level living. The endless scrolls, the shallow words, the temporary admiration, and she found no nourishment there. It's like drinking salt water. It looks refreshing, but it only makes you thirstier. So, she stopped chasing the kind of attention that fades as quickly as it arrives. Instead, she began to cultivate something richer. Substance. The kind of beauty that isn't about how she looks, but about what her presence evokes. The kind of energy that lingers long after she's gone because it came from the soul, not the surface. When she listens, she really listens. She hears what isn't being said. When she speaks, she doesn't waste words trying to impress. She speaks to connect. She's not interested in small talk. She wants to explore minds, hearts, and souls. She's not afraid of silence in a conversation because she knows that real connection doesn't always need noise. It's in the stillness, in the pauses, in the moments where nothing is said but everything is felt. That's where she lives. She doesn't measure her worth by how much attention she gets because she knows attention is cheap. Anyone can look at you, but very few can truly see you. And she would rather be deeply seen by one soul than admired by 1,000 blind eyes. This is what makes her rare. She values the unseen, the subtle, the sacred. In a world that glorifies exposure, she finds beauty in mystery. There's a calm power in her presence. She doesn't shout to be heard, yet somehow her silence speaks volumes. It's because she's rooted, grounded in something deeper than trends or opinions. You can't shake someone who's anchored in truth. She understands that being understood is not about explaining yourself louder. It's about being so clear within yourself that you no longer need to explain at all. And when it comes to love, she's not fooled by charm or status. She sees through the layers. She can sense the difference between those who come to be seen with her and those who come to see her. She is drawn to depth, to people who think before they speak, who feel before they act, who love with intention. Her heart is not impressed by gestures. She's not afraid of loving again because she knows that love is never the enemy. It's the attachment to what was never real that causes pain. And she's learned to love without fear because she understands that love in its purest form can never truly hurt her. It only transforms her. Her love extends beyond people. It touches everything. She loves life. The smell of rain, the quiet of dawn, the rhythm of the wind, the beauty of small things. She feels deeply, and that's what gives her life richness. Some might call her too emotional, but she smiles because emotion is not a weakness. It's proof that she's alive, awake, and connected to everything around her. To love like her is rare. It takes courage to remain soft in a world that hardens hearts. It takes strength to open up when closing off feels safer. But that's her gift. She loves even when the world forgets how to. She chooses compassion over pride, empathy over ego, forgiveness over revenge. That's her quiet rebellion. That's her power. And when she finally finds love that matches her depth, she doesn't drown in it. She rises with it. because her love was never meant to consume. It was meant to create, to inspire, to elevate. That's the kind of love that doesn't fade with time. It becomes timeless. That is why the rarest woman in the world is not the one who is hardest to love. She's the one who knows how to love without losing herself. Her mind, her heart, or her time. She gives selectively, not out of arrogance, but wisdom. She knows that not every connection is meant to last. Some are meant to teach. And once the lesson is learned, she lets go gracefully without bitterness. That's her strength. She doesn't cling. She releases. People sometimes wonder why she's so calm, so unbothered. It's because she's not addicted to noise anymore. She doesn't chase drama, attention, or validation. Her joy doesn't depend on being seen, but on seeing clearly. She has learned that the most peaceful life is the one where you no longer have to prove your worth. The rarest woman isn't interested in standing out. She's interested in standing true. She knows that real power isn't about how loud you are, but how aligned you are with who you really are. She doesn't try to fit in, because she was never meant to blend. She was meant to bring depth to a world that fears it, silence to a world that never stops talking, and authenticity to a world that's forgotten what it means to be real. And that's what makes her so rare. She would rather be unseen for who she truly is than celebrated for who she's not. Her love is her power, not her weakness. In a world that often confuses vulnerability with fragility, the rarest woman has learned that to love deeply is not to surrender strength, but to reveal it. She knows that real love is not something that takes away from her. It expands her. It stretches her soul, softens her edges, and yet somehow makes her more unbreakable. Her love is not a currency she spends carelessly. It's a sacred force that flows only where it's truly valued. She loves with awareness, not attachment. She doesn't chase because she understands that love that must be chased was never love to begin with. Love to her is not about control or possession. It's about presence. To her, love is not found in words, but in energy, in intention, in the quiet way someone shows up. And she in return shows up fully, openly, but never desperately, because desperation has no place in real love. When she gives her heart, she doesn't lose herself in the process. She knows that giving doesn't mean disappearing. She can pour herself into someone and still remain whole because she has learned the most important truth of all. Love is not supposed to complete her. It's supposed to complement her. That's why her love feels different. It doesn't demand, it doesn't bind, it doesn't break. It liberates. She loves not because she's blind, but because she sees everything, the flaws, the imperfections, the fears, and chooses to love anyway. That's what makes her love so rare. It's not naive, it's conscious. It's not dependent, it's free. She doesn't need to be needed. She wants to be met. Her heart is vast, but not easily accessed. You cannot trick your way into it. You must rise to its frequency. She doesn't play games, because her love doesn't live in manipulation or strategy. It lives in truth. She believes that if she must fight to be seen, she's already in the wrong place. She's not afraid of walking away, not because she doesn't care, but because she refuses to settle for a love that asks her to shrink. The rarest woman understands that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to let go. And she does gracefully, peacefully, without resentment, because she knows that holding on to what's not meant for her only blocks what is. Her love is fierce, but not forceful. It's tender, but never weak. It's steady like a river. It doesn't need to announce its power. It simply flows. She loves with intention, not impulse. She gives without expectation. And yet she attracts more love than most people ever find because she embodies it. People feel peace in her presence. They feel safe. Not because she promises forever, but because she's real in the moment. There's something extraordinary about how she loves. She doesn't try to fix others. She inspires them to heal. She doesn't carry broken souls. She reminds them that they can stand. She loves without rescuing. And that is what makes her love so empowering. It doesn't create dependency. It creates growth. To be loved by such a woman is to be seen in ways you didn't know you could be seen. But it's also to be challenged to rise, to meet her at the depth where her love resides. And yet she doesn't give endlessly to everyone. Her heart is open, but her boundaries are clear. She knows that love without boundaries becomes self-destruction. She has learned through pain that not everyone deserves her softness. So now she protects her peace like a treasure. When she feels energy that drains rather than nourishes, she quietly steps back. She doesn't beg to be understood. Her silence is her closure. When her heart breaks, she doesn't let bitterness grow there. She lets wisdom bloom instead. Every heartbreak has taught her something sacred. That pain is not punishment. It's purification. It strips away illusions and brings her closer to her truth. She doesn't build walls. She builds gates. With keys only those with sincerity can hold. Her love is divine because it's rooted in self-respect. She knows that love isn't about losing yourself to someone. It's about finding yourself in the reflection of someone who truly sees you. It's moved by sincerity. That's why only a few can truly reach her, and even fewer can stay. You see, when a woman chooses depth, she automatically filters out everything that isn't real. Shallow connections can't survive around her energy. People who are used to games find her intimidating, not because she's difficult, but because she's honest. Her soul demands truth, and that's something many aren't ready to give. So, she's often misunderstood, called distant, mysterious, hard to read. But that's because she's not available on the surface. To know her, you have to dive deep. There's a certain loneliness that comes with depth. She feels it sometimes, that ache of not being easily understood. But she doesn't run from it. She embraces it as the price of authenticity. She knows that depth can't exist without solitude. And in that solitude, she finds clarity. She learns that it's better to wait for what resonates than to settle for what distracts. She guards her energy like something sacred because it is. Not everyone deserves access to her